The Walt Disney Company, known generally as Disney, is an American entertainment conglomerate located in Burbank, California. In terms of revenue, it's the second largest media conglomerate behind the cable giant Comcast. Disney was founded by Walt Disney and Roy O. Disney in 1923. Throughout the earliest years, they established themselves as a leader in animation and live-action media. Later on, they would also begin to include other forms of entertainment and theme parks.
Mickey Mouse is a primary symbol of Walt Disney Studios to this day. Going back to the history of the corporation itself, in 1923, Walt Disney created a short film entitled Alice's Wonderland. He then moved to Hollywood to join his brother Roy O. Disney, and they began to produce and distribute a series called Alice Comedies. Each reel sold for $1,500 with Disney as a production partner. With this backing, Roy and Walt created Disney Brothers Cartoon Studio, and many more animated films followed after Alice. In 1926, the Disney Brothers Studios name was changed to Walt Disney Studios. Throughout the early 1930s, there were many animated releases entitled Silly Symphonies. Walt Disney came up with the name Mortimer for a mouse character while on a train, but later changed the name to Mickey Mouse. It is said the change was made because Disney's wife Lillian, who didn't like the sound of Mortimer Mouse.
Snow White's popularity remained strong through the following decades and had many re-releases in the theaters until its home video release in the 1990s. If one were to adjust for inflation, it is in the top 10 highest-grossing films in the North American box office. Switching gears now to the Disney Renaissance, this is the period of time in which Walt Disney feature animation experienced a resurgence in producing successful and creative animated films based on well-known stories. This period of films, ranging from 1989 to 1999, restored the public interest in the company as a whole.
In 1985, the animation studio produced the PG-rated movie, The Black Cauldron, which was released to become a failure. This resulted in the animation studios being entirely in jeopardy. As a last resort, the company as a whole went against a 30-year policy of theirs and created a television animation division, now known as Disney Television Animation. This was done because animated television productions were much cheaper overall than theatrical releases. Roy E. Disney believed that the animation division was the studio's core business and decided he wanted to be in a supervision position there in hopes of improving on it. In 1986, The Great Mouse Detective was released by Disney, and in the same year, Don Bluth released An American Tail. An American Tail outperformed The Great Mouse Detective on initial release, becoming the higher-grossing film.
Retrospectively, the release of Tarzan was seen as the end of the Renaissance era for Disney's theatrical scene. Even though Disney released 9 feature films after this period, many of them were not critically well received, and many not commercially either. Some of these films included Fantasia 2000, The Emperor's New Groove, and Atlantis, The Lost Empire. The studio also experienced some severe box office losses such as Dinosaur, Treasure Planet, and Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch was the most prestigious of these films at the time, spawning multiple sequels as well as a television series.
During this time, Pixar insisted that they have control over the films that were already in production. These films included The Incredibles and Cars. Disney did not want to grant such control, at which time Pixar said they were actively seeking other partners other than Disney. Due to the success of Pixar, Michael Eisner, CEO, decided that public tastes had changed to the point where they needed to get out of hand-drawn animation altogether for their theatrical endeavors. Their productions, such as Home on the Range in 2004-2005's Chicken Little, were received with mixed reviews but did well in the box office. The success of these endeavors suggested to Disney that they did not need to depend entirely upon Pixar for quality CGI films. This understanding led to some leverage in their negotiations with Pixar.
Wreck-It Ralph received critical and commercial success very similar to Tangled and was nominated for many awards. In 2013, Disney Studios released Frozen, which is a musical based loosely on an old tale called The Snow Queen. This film broke box office records during its first weekend of release. This was the first film to gross $1 billion worldwide and is now officially the highest grossing animated film of all time. It won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature as well as Best Original Song for Let It Go. In 2014, the studio saw the release of Big Hero 6, which was inspired by a Marvel Comics superhero team of the same name. This was the year's highest grossing animated film and won the award for Best Picture from the Academy. In 2016, the same studio released Zootopia to considerable international critical and commercial success. This is attributed to its widespread consensus of artistic excellence and for also being a sophisticated beast fable about prejudice and stereotypes. It has proved to be an exceptionally timely release in the current American political environment. The films released during Disney's Renaissance era were almost entirely well received by critical media. Out of all of them, Pocahontas scored the lowest out of the Renaissance films.